Hi, this is Rod Anderson with Smile with Sandbox, and you're going to hear a really interesting piece of content here from Mike at Aurora Aviation. Aurora has been around for quite a while and really has two arms, firefighting and non-firefighting. The non-firefighting is a lot of what you're going to hear attached within this video, and it's really about pilot training and just a huge opportunity and a huge need in Canada and throughout the world for pilots. And Aurora is here to help service that need, that gap that exists. You're also going to hear a story that Mike shares of his training and him being a pilot and fighting fires.
Good morning, Rod. Thank you for doing this with me. I'm Michael Morin, the founder, president, and CEO of the Aurora Aviation group of companies. We started as a helicopter company in Fort McMurray at the right place and the right time to jump on the oil sands bandwagon and built a company that expanded fairly rapidly. After the wildfire, during the wildfire of Fort McMurray in 2016, we moved our headquarters group to the Okanagan Valley, which is how we've come to meet you and the other folks in our networks, and established our headquarters at the Morin airport. And we've since added a number of bases, and we've expanded our offerings to include other services, including fixed wing maintenance and pilot training, airplane pilot training.
Say, how long have you been in the aviation business?
1990. So I've been in the helicopters. I had a summer job as a forest firefighter, working on a helitack crew, and our little Quebec pilot let me hover his helicopter one day at the dual controls in, and that was it. Aviation's a bit like an airborne disease. You know, you get bit by a mosquito and you're infected, and it festers for a while, and pretty soon it takes over your life. So here we are.
And how many years were you actually in the firefighting business, flying a helicopter?
So the ground as a firefighter for 6 seasons in the Northwest Territories, and then started fighting fire from the air, which I thought was the better side of the long line. And I did that for, I don't know, it must be 15 years, and of course did other things. We grew up in the oil and gas space, and did film work and wildlife surveys and all kinds of things, tourism, agriculture.
You had shared a story about, and I think Kobe Bryant's helicopter faced this, where if you're in cloud or smoke, you can't really tell which way's up.
If it's the story I'm thinking of, my sort of pushing too far, trying to get the job done, trying to pick the crew off the mountain at the end of the day, pushed a little too far up the hill into the cloud, and for a moment lost sight of everything, and you literally don't know which way's up. We have instruments in the aircraft. Most VFR helicopters don't have IFR instrumentation, so you're not really equipped for that scenario, and you're really intended to avoid it. It's interesting. I was fortunate enough to suddenly be able to see the top of one tree, which isn't enough to maintain reference, but it was a good start. And then I could see 2 or 3 treetops, and so I could maintain my position in the world until I saw a lighter area off to the left, which told me the clouds were thinner that way, and I pivoted and headed that way down the hill out of the clouds, and the crew had to walk down to the logging road to get picked up, which would have been what they should have done in the first place, I suppose.
Wow. So I'm the kind of guy that when I'm in the back of the plane and we hit a lot of turbulence at 40,000 feet, my heart starts to go. As a pilot in that scenario, do you calm right down and you get very in the moment, or do you get adrenaline and heart starts to go, heart rate goes up, and you're thinking, I've got very little time to make big decisions here?
Yeah, it's the second piece for sure. The heart is pounding, and you're relying on your skill and your experience and your training to keep your wits about you, and it's never give up, right? It's I have to make this work out, and so I'm going to do whatever it takes for the period of time. The time seems quite long, but of course, in reality, it's quite short. But yeah, the heart is pounding in that event, and you're probably unaware of it in the moment, but as soon as you're out of the event, you realize, oh, yeah, my knees are knocking, my heart's pounding. This was not a pleasant event.
What have you seen happen in the aviation world that impacts kind of your businesses, I'll say?
Our non-forest firefighting work evaporated overnight. And the reason is that the majority of our non-fire clients are government employees, government agencies, government departments. And those were the very first people who were told, you stay home, your paychecks are secure, so stay home. And so all of the projects that we would have been doing with those people and had done over the years were canceled. They were instantly canceled. At that time, we had no idea really how long this thing would go on, but those folks canceled a year's worth of work on a moment's notice. And so that was a bit of a shock. So we thought, well, good. I guess our reliance on forest fire is going to pay off because that shouldn't be affected by COVID. What it was affected by in 2020 was the slowest fire season across the nation that anybody had ever seen. We thought of 2019 as a slow fire season, kind of a 30-year low, and 2020 was 10% of 2019. It was down by 90%, and it devastated the helicopter industry across the country.
So in the energy sector, they called it the double black swan.
So I think of it as a triple black swan event, two sort of naturally occurring situations, if we assume COVID's naturally occurring. But then the failure of the banking system to stand up and weather the storm and be the financial partners that they often want you to believe that they are. They definitely have been looking after their own interests and not looking after us very well at all. But we're still here to fight and rise from the ashes, if you will, where lots of others and companies bigger than us have thrown in the towel and gone under.
Speaks to the grit that probably you have and that the people in your organization that are still with you have. Are we into more of a normal state here? And if or if not, what is the biggest thing that your business is up against right now?
I looked at this and said, well, probably we're not going to be able to operate these helicopters, which doesn't make any sense. The assets are still here, our experience and infrastructure is still here. So we should use them to generate revenue, but the bank chose otherwise. So I said, okay, we're going to build out this business that we've been dabbling in of airplane pilot training. We're going to build out this business model and make this our pivot, and accelerating and learning digital marketing and the sales process. It's completely different. In the helicopter business, you have 2 or 3 government customers and maybe a dozen oil and gas and industrial and forestry customers, and marketing doesn't really play a part in that. It's all sort of pricing and relationships. This business to customer model of selling flight training services is new to us, and it's actually quite exciting. It's in a lot of ways it's a lot easier than what we were doing before, and it's less capital intensive, and it's more fun because we're both, for our instructors who are aspiring airline pilots and for our students who are aspiring pilots, we're helping people achieve their dreams and their goals. So that's really rewarding for us. Pre-COVID, Canada was predicted to be short by 600 pilots a year. And that impacts not just the airline industry, it impacts all of the Canadian economy, because most Canadian businesses rely on some form of travel with the airlines. And so when flights get canceled, that generates cost and inconvenience and missed opportunities. So I think we're helping people achieve their goals, and we're helping solve a problem for the Canadian economy. We're engaging with First Nations and Indigenous communities. We are keen supporters of women in aviation, and if you look at our own staff, we've got to be close to 50% women on our instructor staff, and that's very exciting. So it's interesting. It's a lot of work. You talked about grit. My approach has been to every day do everything I can to weather this storm. And to some extent, I describe it as being in the boxing ring, fighting a fight with your bank standing behind you with their hands around your throat. So it's not comfortable and it's not fun. These last 18 months have not been pleasant, but we're making headway. And this flight school now is just over 2 years old, and 2022 is really when we stop being a startup and we start being a significant player in this space. We now, with 5 locations, have more locations than any other flight school in Canada. We've got a vision that'll take us coast to coast, and I'm very, very excited about it.
Are you in a business model now, on the other side of this, that is going to serve you better than the previous model?
I'm of two minds. I'm not yet out of the woods, but I can see into the clear. It's interesting. I didn't really look this up until recently, but the word Aurora, our tagline is energy in flight. I always think of the Aurora Borealis as being, energetic particles bouncing into the atmosphere, creating light. But I did a little bit of research, and Aurora is also the Greek word for dawn. And in Roman mythology, Aurora is the goddess of the dawn. And so that really aligns with where I feel like we are, because I feel like as I'm nearing the end of this very challenging journey, I see the glow of the dawn on the horizon. I can't see the sun yet, but I'm almost there. It's coming. That's where we are.
Thank you for taking the time today.
Thank you, Rod. Have a great day.